All right, everyone. We've reached Friday. It is 5 o'clock somewhere. That somewhere happens to be the East Coast. That's the advantage of Eastern Standard Time. So we've reached the finish line in North America first. So what we do, or what I do, and hopefully what you do, is we wind it down a little bit. Each week here at 5 o'clock, it's live at 5. Thanks so much for joining. We're on LinkedIn Live. We're on YouTube Live. And my Facebook Live as well. So thank you again for joining. This is our last show in the month of April. It's hard to imagine this started in March with just a little idea to go on and test out what LinkedIn Live had approved me for. And I had to go live within a 60-day period. So I thought I'd just see who was out there and who would, if I could just test the platform. And here we are now every week on Live at 5. There is a lot to talk about today. And a lot that we'll get into, and we'll have, hopefully here in a couple of minutes, we'll have some fun. So I always try to let you all get situated, because you get those notifications up at the top. Hopefully you get the notification that Dave is live, and you can comment below in the comments, and I can see them. So let's try one out right now. Oh, look at that guy right there. Chuck Lofton, one of those guys that made sure that I was persuaded to stay in the field that I was going to college for, because I interned at WTHR Channel 13 in Indianapolis in the summer of 1987, and Chuck is one of the top 5 all-time nicest guys. So Chuck, thanks for tuning in. Chuck, by the way, watch your messages, because that summer of 87, I'm going to have a little reunion, and you're going to be grandfathered into the group of sports guys that I'm inviting. We're just going to have a little Indianapolis reunion of some of the guys that I know: Daryl Burnett, Lee Owen, Scott Hoke. If you're out there, I'm going to reach out to you. We'll find Mark Patrick, and I think we'll even try to find Ed Sorensen and see if we can have a little fun. Trying to figure out why those guys didn't dissuade me and scare me away from the industry. But Chuck Lofton has definitely got to be on that list as well. Okay, I'm gonna tell my guest I am live now. See if he's ready to check in with me as well. Hopefully Sean's going to be on the other end. It's good timing for my guest today, because of the NFL draft starting last night. And always a fun one. I got a little NFL draft stories. By the way, over my shoulder, people have asked before. I know it's hard to see, but that is the great Secretariat at the Kentucky Derby, winning the Kentucky Derby. I believe it was 159 and 2/5. Record time still that stands today in 1973. So I got that limited edition print. It was done by the late, great Tony Leonard. And there's 2,000 of the limited edition prints, and I've got number 276 signed by him. So that is always staying in my possession, the great Secretariat. But I was really looking forward to tomorrow, as I do every Kentucky Derby, because my friend Kenny McPeak, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later, he has King Fury, but he scratched this afternoon King Fury. So unfortunately, we won't have a chance to see if he can pull the big win, but I'll tell you a little bit more about Kenny McPeak a little bit later on. I see my guest. I am proud to announce this guest coming on. I'm just going to bring him in. There he is, the great Sean Salisbury. Sean, how are you?
I'm doing great, Dave. How are you, brother? Good to be on with you.
I am great, Sean. I put a little introduction, a little promo of this yesterday. I can't get out of my promo days, and I promoted on Facebook and LinkedIn that. Oops, you dropped. Sean dropped. All right. Well, I'll set that up. This is live television. This is what we used to call it. You dropped. He'll check in again here. Let me see who else is out there. All right. Charles Newton. Great content so far. Thank you. Great production, man, right there. Sean Thompson, you the man. Congratulations, Atlanta ratings. You're tearing it up in sports talk radio. Appreciate that. Sean and I, many a Final Four together at during those Westwood One days. So we'll get Sean I was going to tell him that I introed him as a guy that almost feels like family, just because Sean is just always there when you just want to say hello or just check in, and he's just one of those joyous guys to be around. And the other big thing was in the sports talk industry, he was one of those hosts that you didn't have to train because they always had a take. They didn't have good days and bad days. They just always had. He was always strong. He was always strong on the take. And we used to have a lot of fun hearing him on with some of the guys that we had in Dallas and then at the network as well. Always loved the passion that he had with Dan Patrick and what he's brought on his own show as well in the coming years. But I think that one of the things that I wanted to highlight with him, and hopefully we'll get him back on here. When I got a one-man staff, there's not much we can do. We just got to hope that the signal gets back on for him. There we go. See if it'll go. All right. So what I was saying is that in the draft, he's now helping a lot of young players out there. And I'm talking about young players. I'm talking about like high school quarterbacks and stuff. So I want to talk to him about what he has tried to teach young guys. Many of you out there, I've seen you on your Facebook updates. You are pushing your kids through athletics, which is great. Hopefully you get them involved in plenty of athletics. So we'll get some of his advice as to what does he tell parents as to do. I think Sean's there. I'm going to bring him on again. Sean, you got me?
I do. I only got like 4 computers here because I'm working on my master's degree, and one decided to go out. I plugged another one in. I had to put the headset on. So I apologize. And yes, I know you're in your promo days and nobody better at it than you. So it's great to be on with you, man. Thank you for having me.
No, Sean, here's what I did. I said, you know what? It's almost like this is family. I grew up an only kid, so I didn't have any brothers or sisters. But I said, knowing you over the years, it's like knowing a family member and having a family member because, you check in and you keep in touch and you say all the right things and you're good at what you do and you're sincere. And so I thank you for that.
Honored, man. Honored to be on. You've known me a long time, and it's anytime I can help and try to enhance a little bit, I'm here for you. So thank you.
Yeah, well, many who may be watching it for the first time, I'm in my ALS Association North Carolina chapter office. A lot we do and a lot of seriousness that you deal with during the week. This is my way of winding down. Sean, as you well know, being in the sports talk industry, sports is an entertainment outlet. But I wanted to start first. You help young players. You mentor young players. What's the one piece of advice when a parent says, what should I do with my kid? What's the best piece of advice you could give parents out there?
Love him or her, support them, and let them make mistakes. Now, you hope they're not big ones, but we try so much. We try so hard as parents. I'm a father of 3 to protect our kids from adversity. That in the process, when they become adults, they're not sure how to deal with it. And I'm a big guy that I'm big on, on people that can overcome adversity, real life stuff. Dave, we see it all the time, and it's not one of those get off my lawn or everybody gets a trophy conversations. Everybody has their way. I'm not telling anybody how to raise their parents, but when it comes to just the mentoring process, listen, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but loving my kids wasn't one of them, right? And they'll never forget that. And when you're dealing with people, they never remember, oh yeah, I remember this game or that game. They always remember how you treated them and the respect you showed them and vice versa that they showed. Regardless of what they did in life, it's the respect. So I guess as a parent, I would say when you're raising kids, they're going to make mistakes and pick your battles too, right? These kids are smart, man. They're the access. I wouldn't want to be, I'm serious, Dave, what's going on in the country, and we got a great country to live in the world, but with all the battle and social media and the stuff you have to deal with, I would not want to be a 12-year-old, 15-year-old growing up now. I wouldn't. It's tough enough raising them, but love them, man. That's the top part. And when it comes to football players or quarterbacks or athletes, I mentor on, how to handle it and all that similar conversation. But I also take it the next to social media, and I tell their parents, I say if they and it's good for parents whether you're an athlete or not to tell their kids, and it's good for adults because we are ignorant sometimes and make stupid mistakes. I tell them, and I give this speech constantly to camps I'm at or to clinics I'm at, teaching, is if you can't if your mother or father or your grandmother can't see the tweet, meaning you wouldn't show it to them because you're embarrassed?
Yeah. Nope. I think we just lost your audio there, Sean.
I'm here.
There you are.
I'm here. The don't hit send, and if you find a way to do that, then you'll always make the right decision with it.
Sean, when parents want you to help their kid out, they want to get them probably to the pros, or do they want to make them successful in college? Which is it, and what is the turning point of what could do it or could not do it?
Yeah, well, obviously it's good to have good DNA and genes when you're blessed with the type of skill like a Trevor Lawrence or Zach Wilson guys are blessed with. But Dave, you've covered the sport and sports for a lot of years, not just football, but sports is, the 3-star recruit, how the coach develops them and how they work, become a 5-star guy. Number one is what I'd say is parents quit buying into the star thing. I mean, I know it's important for judging, but and Division I sports isn't the only sport. You don't have to tell your kid that if it's Division I or bust and they're not any good. Aaron Rodgers went to junior college. He went to junior college, and now he's the reigning most valuable player. You can see it all the time. So is to encourage them to keep playing, whether it's Division I, Division II, FCS, FBS. I don't care what it is. If you get a chance to keep playing a sport that someday you're going to be too old to play, and usually that's in your 30s for the normal human being, if you're lucky to get that far, right? Yeah. So, Dave, I think the advice, and yes, every kid, when I do these clinics and camps again, or a parent comes and asks me to train their kid, the number one thing I say, does your son, in this case with quarterbacks, love to play?
Yeah.
And if they love to play, then they'll work. And I also say, who am I doing this for? And sometimes they may not like the transparency, but I think most appreciate it. I tell them, I said, I'm not here to tell your kid what he wants to do or what he wants to hear or what you want to hear. You pay me good money to evaluate him properly. I am in the self-esteem building business, but in the process of doing that, there's flaws that we all have to fix, whether it's on the field or how to handle watching tape in a game. So there is more than just Division I football, although that should be whatever level it is for the kid that wants to play at their highest level. And I tell my kids that I train, you take care of Friday nights, that'll take care of Saturdays. Then if you take care of Saturdays, that'll take care of getting paid on Sunday. And along the way, you get an education, you meet great people, you hit rock bottom, or whether that's 6 sacks in a game or throwing a pick or losing your job and having to win it back. And don't run away from competition. I tell these kids all the time, I understand the people with transfer portals and the rest, but don't be afraid of a little competition, because somewhere along in every walk of life, sports or not, you're going to have it. And as a parent, I also ask them, I say, who am I living your dream for, the kid or you? and it's true. So, if the kid's contacting me to go train and work, I know we're into something. When I know it's the parent that is forcing it, and most 99.5% of them, every now and then you'll run into one that probably wants it more than the kid does. And I try to make them love it, Dave. That's my number one goal. Can I make the kid love it? And even if he does, can I enhance their love for the sport they're playing? And then we'll work and we'll get after it, and I'll give them everything. And I also tell them, if I love what I'm doing more than you love what you're doing, meaning I'm training a kid, if I love training that kid more than that kid likes training, then I would imagine they're probably not going to go very far. Getting to the NFL or pro sports is a hard thing to do, man.
Yeah. Well,
but you should set the goal high and set the bar. But I have options. If you got 5 options and one goes away, you still have 4. So work for it, but also have as many options and go to school and get good grades. It's okay to be the best at everything if you want to be.
Because of where we are, sports talk, social media, everything. Is there unnecessary pressure on those kids that went number 1 at quarterback last night? The amount of people that think, will they fail before they succeed?
Yeah, Dave, there is. And you know this. Think about the time the season ended till now, or last night when the first round came about. How many people didn't talk about, I mean, some did, but spent so much time talking about not the great things that all 5 of those first-round quarterbacks have.
Yeah.
But they take one little thing and beat it into the ground, and it can be detrimental to a kid's career if he listens. I mean, you've got to be able to get over good stuff and bad stuff equally as quick at the quarterback position. But, yeah, of course there's undue pressure. It's undue pressure you put on yourself. And I don't mean this arrogant, but going back to when I was coming out, I was the #1 recruited football player in America and was like the top athlete in the country because I was a 3-sport star and, David did the articles and all that stuff. But the reason I say this is I was fortunate that my parents kept me grounded. I still had to be a kid and do all the chores that you have to do. But as a #1 recruit, there was times when I would come home and there was a recruiter outside in a car or 3 cars lined up. And I forgot to be a kid, and it's tough. But now I look back and say, please enjoy it, because you only get that shot once where everybody's telling you how great you are, right? And so, yes, the pressure's ridiculous. The money is – I don't ever get anybody's wallet, but you earn what you can negotiate. But, of course, we're going to expect all 5 of them to play like Pat Mahomes, which is or Tom Brady, which is not fair. You can be a really good player or a great player for that matter and not be considered the GOAT. There's a lot of great players in this league. Think about Jimmy Garoppolo, Dave. He's 16 months removed from the Super Bowl, and they've already got his replacement. 16 months.
Man.
It's 16 months, and part of that 16 months was a COVID season. And he's already
right.
He's already got the 3rd pick of the draft in Trey Lance. So, yeah, we put too much pressure. We do it with 7th graders getting offered scholarships now. They love it. They say social media and being on TV, high school Friday night games. So I think it's great for the kid as long as there's the perspective of this is usually not normal. And the guys you see on Sunday are not normal. I mean, they may be normal, but they're not normal athletes. They don't work normal. They work different than we do. They do lonely work. Another thing, you got to do work when a coach isn't hovering around you telling you to be great. They do.
Amen, brother.
Yeah, you got to do the work when nobody's giving you a compliment and begging you to do it.
Now, there's some young people watching this that they know you from broadcasting days, but you played quarterback at USC. Now, those days in LA for me doing sidelines there on some USC broadcasts, I'd walk around that campus, Sean, and I remember you, and I think, man, what was it like to be a quarterback in college at USC?
Dave, listen.
You had power.
I had and you kind of take that on, and being a San Diego kid, so I was 2 hours away. There's, you get heavily recruited, so people know you going in, even though I was clueless, man. I was naive to a lot of it. But when you walk on campus as USC's quarterback, I'm not sure at the time, and I know we can go through this, that there was a better college job in the country. Honestly, I mean,
I can't imagine.
I know it was SC. It's in Los Angeles. We were, and all the Heisman Trophy running backs that SC had, but still the quarterback in Los Angeles at USC at the time, Dave. And I don't mean this because of me, because I'm sure Sam and Carson Palmer and Darnold and Matt Lyon all went through the same thing. But mine was in the '80s, so it was a little bit different. We didn't have social media and all that, but I do know this, that for every Dodger that got invited to the Playboy Mansion or to sit courtside at a Laker game, so did the quarterback at USC. Now, I don't know if I'm past the point of saying, well, how am I sitting courtside? Because my scholarship didn't pay for it, but it's a good thing to have friends who have friends who have friends, and you just found a ticket sitting on the ground, right? So, yeah, man, being the quarterback at SC was the best job in the country, not named a professional athlete, no question.
Yeah, when I watched The Last Dance, that famous series last summer about the Jordan, can you imagine the era of social media in the 80s?
Absolutely not.
How that would have changed things.
I can't imagine social media now. Okay. So in the 80s, how would it change? Yeah. Ask anybody. I mean, ask the guys who played. Dave, you grew up in an era when people older than us, when the Mickey Mantles of the world, I mean, far older than us, but they'd go out drinking with the media guy, right? They'd go have a beer and stay up. Or the great Green Bay Packers story about staying out all night and walking through the lobby and run into the coach and then go have an MVP for, what was it, Boyd Dowler or whoever it was, right? And Max McGee, the Boyd Dowler. It was a time, and everybody protected everybody. And now it's a time when you walk out there and it's not even the negative stuff, even the good stuff that these kids now, I'm training some kids that are so popular on social media. It's like they've been doing it for 25 years. So no, I can't imagine it even going farther back. And the question is, where's it going?
Yeah.
Hell, what is a 6th grader got to be, the best social media guy in the world? But like I said, the pressures that these kids have and to be able to perform like they do, God bless them, man.
Years ago in Oregon, I was at an NFL alumni golf event, and Jim McMahon was there, played the entire round barefoot. Okay. So I knew Jim has his story. You played with Jim, right?
I did. Yeah.
Tell me a Jim McMahon story.
Listen, Mac, and when Mac was playing for Chicago and I was in the league, I remember, going back further, I got recruited by BYU and Lavelle Edwards, and I can remember Mac was going into a senior year Heisman Trophy candidate, and I was going to be the next guy, right?
Yeah.
And I took a recruiting visit there, and I met him, and Mac has that one eye, and he was chewing gum, and he gave me minimal time. Hey, kid. And I kept walking. That was on my recruiting visit. So years later, Mac's in the league, and I'm watching Super Bowls, loving him, obviously, when I was at SC, the 85 Super Bowl. You're like, this dude is pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
And he could, because it felt like Mac could do and say anything he wanted, right? Well, then I play in the league, and we're in the same division, and we play and I hate just his personality. He was like, he's a guy that you hate if he's on another team, if you don't know him, right? If you just playing against him, because he's kind of cocky, and he's tough, and he knows he's a good player, yet he'll take a hit. All the fellas love him. But if opponent's like, man, I can't stand this dude. After years of like thinking he's pretty cool. Then I became a peer. You're on the same level and playing the same league. Well, then he comes to Minnesota. And Dave, let me tell you something, man.
Yeah.
Jim McMahon is one of the great teammates and great people. He's one of my dear friends. I'm actually in Arizona right now. I'm going to see him and play golf with him on this trip.
That's great.
He'll call me up sometimes, talk some silly nonsense, and to this day, he's always called me kid, always, and still does. And Mac and I have formed a relationship. He's a guy you can't stand. Then he came into the locker room, and instantly I thought, this is my kind of guy. Great teammate. Players loved him. Go out to dinner. He wouldn't let me sleep during training camp. He was always up. And then the next morning, he'd wake up, and he'd say, kid, I can't go today. I'm a little tired. He's a KG veteran. And I said, Mac, you keep me up till 4:00. And he said, kid, you got to go take all the reps today. And I'm like, dude, you got to stop this. And we'd laugh. I love Jim McMahon like he's family. And you realize that the judgment of how a guy goes about it, when you meet him, he was my seatmate on flights. And some of the best laughs I've had in my life have been with Mac. And one quick, when we were out playing golf, the fork to the eye story. Well, him and I were playing golf, and I got a par 5, and we both hit our balls out there, and he's a really long hitter. And so I'm hitting first, and I hit a 3-wood. I'm about 250 yards away, and I pushed it right. And I was like, doggone it. And there's beer bottles in our cart. Yeah. So I walk over there, and I take the top of my 3-wood, and I just tap the top of it like a little pissed off. I've tried to throw golf balls instead of break clubs, Dave. So I've changed over the years. And it broke, and a sliver of the glass got in his nose. He looks at me and goes, kid, all these years with a fork to my eye, now I got a sliver of glass in my nose. And I'm telling you, for 3 years when I'd see him, he'd say, it's still there. He'd have a sliver right there on the edge of his nose. But I got some Mac stories I can share, some Jim McMahon stories I won't share, and some of the greatest laughs of my life and dear friendship. I've put it this way: Mac's one of those friends that when you're his buddy, he's a loyal. I'd go to the ends of the earth for him. I love him.
I never forget the shoeless one. So if he does not have shoes on, you got to text me a photo.
Oh, I will.
Just tell him.
Dave, he never will. He will not. If it's a tournament that makes him wear shoes, like maybe one of those celebrity things, if he has to, meaning the one in Tahoe. I don't know if they make him wear shoes. I can't even remember. But if it's a celebrity invite tournament that he goes to all over playing golf, he won't wear them. I've never seen him wear golf shoes on a golf course. I don't even know if he owns a pair.
You have been generous. I'm only going to keep you here a couple more minutes. Remember in Dallas, Randy Galloway.
Love him.
Yeah. Remember the Galloway hour, the 5 o'clock?
Legend, yes. As good as Dallas has ever had.
I remember you on
what
those.
A great man. Randy Galloway and his personality, not only great with radio, but a great writer, and opinionated but fair. I'm a huge Galloway fan.
All right. All right. You got a key drive. Any 2 wide receivers that you played with and a tight end. Who would you have with you on a drive to win it all?
It's got to be guys. It's got to be my teammates.
Guys that you played with. Yeah.
Okay.
Teammates.
I would say
dream guys around you.
Okay. Well, running back. Let me go. I'll even give you 2 running backs. We'll go old school in the backfield. 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a tight end.
Yep. You got to score.
I'm not even going to have a fullback, although I played with some good ones. I'm putting Eric Dickerson and Marcus Allen in the same backfield. I played with both. One, I think, led the league in rushing one year, and Marcus won the Heisman at SC when I was a freshman. So watching that was a treat. Tight end, I've had some friggin' good ones, but I'll tell you, Steve Jordan from Brown,
Wow, that's a good one.
Maybe as underrated a player as we've had in this league. Brilliant, just a brilliant. And he was one of those guys that if I knew I needed a completion, I knew he'd win. And at wide receiver, this is pretty simple, although they've had some good ones. Anthony Carter would be close. AC was so good. But I played with Steve Largent, who's the best route runner I've ever seen, and Chris Carter. Both of those guys are in the Hall of Fame. Oh. So Jordan, Chris Carter, Steve Largent, Eric Dickerson, and Marcus Allen, we only have one weakness on our team. It's me, the quarterback, man. We're screwed.
All you have to do is put it in the air.
That's right. Hand it to them and get out of the way, man. I'd find a way to screw that one up, but that's pretty good offensive firepower there.
Yeah, you're doing an unbelievable job, Sean. I put up your is at Sean Unfiltered the best way for people to follow you? Because I really like your Twitter. Also, They can find how to contact you in case they've got a kid out there.
Yes, and Dave, real quick for the people, and just so they know, it's not just the interactive part of it. I'll do anything I can to Dave, to respond to somebody. If you have a question about anything, or you DM me because you want to talk about your son or a life experiences, there's nothing off limits. I try to engage with them, because if we don't have fans, we don't. Our shows and people listening, it doesn't mean a hill of beans. So you can find me at Sean Unfiltered, and I do everything I can to respond.
Yep. I have one regret. I was in for a few nights in a few days there with you in Houston a few years ago when I was between things, and I came this close to joining you as your co-host.
You're friggin' awesome.
I think in a runoff vote, I would have won.
I don't doubt that at all. You are a pro's pro. More importantly, a great man and a dear friend, and you care about others. And remember, we're still young. That can still happen. So don't ever. I don't rule anything out, but it's always a pleasure to be with you, man. Your friendship matters to me more than anything, so I appreciate it.
Keep in touch, my friend. Thanks for doing this. I know you have a busy schedule, and enjoy your golf out there in Arizona.
I appreciate you. I love you, my man. Thank you.
All right, same to you, partner. Just hit the Leaf studio there. That's all you got to do. Thank you, the great Sean Salisbury. Appreciated that. We could have gone on and on, but I'm just, first of all, I'm so used to doing shows where I'm up against a break. So, and really there's always so much topical that I used to have to do that you would never get to the, me asking about Jim McMahon and the stories that sometimes you really remember. If you have a comment or something, please put it in below. I have noticed that if you're on Facebook, I don't see the comments till later. For some reason, they're not coming through here on StreamYard. I have not seen anyone on YouTube yet. I'm trying to see if I can check the Facebook. I can see. You're on the same level. All right, there I am, and that's a little loud. Okay, so I did get one. I have not seen anyone on YouTube. All right, so I've got the double audio there. Sean is just so great. I had other things, but as I said, he was magic with Dan Patrick back in the day. Sean, I wanted to ask him this, but he one time he helped a homeless man out and cleaned him up and got him a job and let him live at his house for a while. And I knew that we were going to do this today, and I thought of that yesterday. And I just recommend everybody, have you always heard somebody will say, let's pay it forward, buy somebody's coffee at Starbucks. I just decided yesterday, I was in Cava, getting some lunch really quickly in line, and young lady right behind me, she had her military gear on. And you know what? And I'm not saying this because of look at me, I just challenge everybody, just think of that just naturally, because the manager there at Cava couldn't have been nicer. When I just whispered, I said, you know what, I'd like to put hers in a drink on mine here and just not make a big deal about it. But when I got out the door, I turned around and looked really quickly and she waved, and I just said, thanks for all you do. That isn't even a tip of what Sean did, but that's the kind of guy that he is as well. So we had a lot of fun there. We didn't get into specifics of the NFL draft, but this is the hopes and dreams for a lot of kids out there. And if you watched this show a few weeks ago, we got a pull for defensive back Michael Carter II out of Duke tonight. Let's hope he gets a call, because I think I showed you his 40-yard dash. He did a tremendous tribute to his grandmother by doing a fundraiser for us here at the ALS Association North Carolina chapter during his pro day. And he ran an incredible 40 and raised over $3,000 in honor of his grandmother who lost her battle to ALS as well. So let's pull for Michael Carter to go to some great team because he's gonna fly around the secondary, I think. The other thing that is draft related, and please make a comment. I'd love to say hi to you. Let me see. If there's anybody else. Alex, thank you for watching. If you tuned in late, you'll be able to catch this. It usually gets posted right after this, and I put it on the YouTube channel as well. I don't have enough subscribers yet. I think I have to have 100, and then my YouTube channel name will be Shore Sports Media, so it'll be easier to find or easier to link to. Right now, I just got to tell you, search Shore Sports Media, and you'll find it. You can watch some of the past episodes. But I'm trying to get an eclectic bunch of people in no particular order so that we can have a lot of things to talk about. But here's how old I realize I am someday. I was looking up some memories, and it was this past week was the 20-year anniversary of the great Bob Valvano. And Bobby, we're pulling for you in your battle, in your health battle. But Bob and I were scheduled to do the NFL draft, 2001 NFL draft show from the ESPN zone when they still had those in Times Square in New York on ESPN Radio National. And ESPN Radio had made a deal with Michael Vick's agent. And so the whole night was going to be presented by the sponsor that provided Michael Vick for us. So we were just going to have Michael Vick. Well, Michael Vick was projected to go 5th, but the Atlanta Falcons traded up that night to get the top pick in the NFL draft. And they got Michael Vick, or Michael Vick obviously was projected to go first, but Atlanta jumped up just to make sure he went first, and they got him that night. So suddenly when we weren't sure, we thought we'd have the number 1 pick, but suddenly the number 1 pick fell into our lap. And that was, Bobby and I have talked about that a long time. Many a nights we remembered that because we remembered obviously knowing what happened later with some of the hardships that Michael Vick went through. We just remembered that night, and we remember, and remember, this is 2001. There's not a whole lot of social media and whatnot going on out there on cell phones or anything. But we remember we walked away that night and we thought, he's a really sincere young man. He's got a lot of people talking to him. And it's going to be really interesting. It's really interesting when you see them at that point before they become a true businessman. But I'll never forget that. And then my other one, the Derby story, I pointed out Secretariat. I was just crushed this afternoon. Our friend, many of you out there from the Lexington, Kentucky days, he's going to be a guest in future weeks. But the great Kenny Rice, longtime anchor, and now doing a great job covering the Triple Crown for NBC Sports. You'll see him. I think you're probably seeing him on the Oaks right now broadcast. But he texted me earlier that Kenny McPeak had to scratch King Fury. So I was so disappointed because I told Kenny, I said, I'll PayPal you the money, but help me do what I did in 1995 at the Derby when I ran over at the last minute to the pay window because I had spent the entire day with Kenny McPeak and Tejano Run. From the very morning we brought him over, I spent the entire day, and we were about ready to take that incredible walk in the parade lap to start the Kentucky Derby. I ran over to the betting window and I put $20 win place on Tejano Run, and he got second that day. And one of the greatest experiences that I've ever had. So I told Kenny, I said, whatever you do, I can Venmo or PayPal you. Just put 20 to win in place on King Fury tomorrow. So I was sad to see that happen because that's the hopes and dreams of a bunch of people and the owners and trainers. And unfortunately, but I'm still going to watch it tomorrow. It's one of the great sports events. If you get a chance to have a bucket list of items that you or events that you go see, please go see that. Wow. It's just been, this is why I love doing this. I just wind down. Mike Morgan, Kevin Colby, and I, last week, we told you about the 3-1 Group podcasts and video casts that we're doing. Thank you for all of you that subscribe to our page for some of the content that we're putting out. But one of the reasons why is we get so many marketing messages. We get so many motivational messages and quotes a day. I just like to break it down and get it from some people that really matter, or some talk about some really interesting things. So that's why I think we can do a few seasons of this show if you guys are in for it, and we'll make sure that we make the rotation and keep the archive up. But these are fun. She couldn't do it tonight, and I don't think she could do it next week. But one of my future guests is going to be one of the sweetest people I know, Stacy Sager. She lost her husband, Craig, our friend Craig, a few years ago. It's hard to imagine how long that's been, but we'll talk. I'll talk to Stacy just about the good old days when we used to have a lot of fun after playoff games and kick back and have fun conversation. And then the battle that Craig went through and really what they're trying to do for blood cancers out there and keep Craig's memory and everything strong as well. I'll announce an ALS walk fundraiser event that I'll be doing, and it'll involve something along the line of what we're doing right now. And then I'm trying to get some of my musical guest friends. They're getting a little antsy, I would say. I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk Kevin Cronin into jumping on, but it's still early on the West Coast. So maybe we can get him to do it. But I know he and the boys at REO Speedwagon are just itching to get back out there as well. And I know from checking in, Joe Walsh has been super busy as well. But I'd love to get a musical connection on one of these nights. But as I told you earlier, Chuck Lofton, all of you, you're on notice. You're going to be getting a notice. I'm going to try to put a few reunion shows together on these Fridays. So we'll talk a little Indianapolis one time. We'll talk a little Lexington another time. We'll talk Dallas, and then maybe we'll do a couple other reunions as well. Maybe we'll do a Paxton, Illinois one as well. All right, that's going to do it. I have no producer to wrap me here, tell me that that's enough, but we usually go about 35, 37 minutes. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a great week. Remember, what you do every day is important. It really is, especially when you think of others. And that's the message I wanted you to bring from having Sean on and telling you about what he did taking care of somebody. And that's why I told you, if you see somebody, help them, pay for their lunch, pay for their dinner. It goes a long way to making a lot of things go right. Thanks so much for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe on the YouTube channel, Shore Sports Media. And I'll shut down the office for this week, and I'll see you next week from right here. Thanks so much.